Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. I'm excited to introduce you to Joanne Bell, who started Bell's Accountants 14 years ago and has built 5 practices through organic growth and acquisitions. Joanne finds assisting business owners to grow their companies hugely satisfying and strives to differentiate her business from a traditional accountancy firm by offering a personalised, streamlined service and unravelling jargon. Through her consultancy business, she translates the story that the numbers tell, helping business owners to make good financial decisions and make more money. Joanne was a Kent Best Women in Business winner and is one of the top 50 women in finance globally. Our podcast conversations focus around the themes of growth through building community, growth by acquisition, and the challenge of building your team as you grow. Brilliant stuff today. Can't wait for you to hear. Hi, Joanne. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ruth. Thanks so much for having me.
You are so welcome. So, Jo, it is so great to have you on here. I'm really excited to hear a bit about your business growth journey because you started your business 14 years ago. And am I correct to say that you are on track to be the first female-owned top 100 accountancy business in the UK?
That's definitely the goal. That's what I'd love to do. About halfway there, I'd say.
Halfway there. So that is one hell of a journey already. Tell us about it.
So my business started very much as a side hustle, really. So I was still employed at the time, and I started to do private work with my employer's permission due to ending up in negative equity with the great housing crash of 2008. Yeah, I ended up, my flat was worth less than I paid for it. So I was trying to sort of dig my way out of a hole. And I advertised in a local trade magazine to do people's bookkeeping or personal tax returns. And obviously the first few clients I got through were, taxi drivers, gardeners, builders, people who just wanted someone to submit their tax return, give them good advice on everything that they're able to claim for, get that sent off to HMRC on their behalf, claim any rebate that might be due. And very quickly it built to earning more from the private work than I was from the self-employed, from the employed side, I should say. Because people tell people, and that's sort of always the way that it goes if you're doing a good job and giving good advice.
I'm picking up key themes here that will resonate with a lot of our listeners. So you started your business by accident, one might say, and you gained your initial clients through advertising in a trade magazine, and then it sounds like word of mouth took over.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And I always think that's the best way, because then they're clients that are recommended to you and have chosen to work with you,
Okay, so then you grew that business over time. Tell me more.
So I never had any ambitions of running a large business. It just grew organically, and then obviously I had to keep up with that in terms of hiring team members, getting an office space, because it became untenable to do it from home when you're needing to meet with clients and you've got storage of records and things like that to deal with. Acquisition certainly wasn't part of the plan, but I did come across the opportunity to buy a guy's firm who was retiring. And it seemed like a really good fit. He was very similar to me in how he treated the team and the pricing structure and that sort of thing. So we did a deal with very long pay away, which made it affordable.
For listeners who are not entirely sure what a pay away is, could you elaborate? What is a very long pay away in that deal?
So lots of people think that when you buy a business, you've got to have loads of money and put a few $100,000 down. There are lots of deals out there where it involves effectively the business paying for themselves. There's usually some down payment, obviously, to show commitment to the seller, but lots of times money is not the main motivator for a seller. If they're retiring, it could just be that they want the clients and the team looked after who've become their friends over the years. So that particular deal, it was a 20-year pay away. So I was paying monthly for the business over 20 years. We're 7 years into that deal now.
That's perfect for somebody retiring, isn't it? That's perfect
Definitely.
for somebody buying. What a win.
Yeah, well, it's a pension for him effectively. But I think the reason that was feasible, that wouldn't be a typical deal, but because he had a freehold property, he was able to put a charge against the freehold property to secure his interest in the business. So both parties were happy with the level of risk involved.
Amazing. Very interesting. So I want to come around to growth by acquisition later, but I understand that early on in your business, building community was key to the growth that you had. Can you tell me more about that?
Definitely. So I'm always a believer in giving as much as you can to the community around you and giving as much added value as you can as well, and becoming the expert in your field. So I look to do that really on to speak at networking events if I was given the opportunity with actual practical, tangible advice people could take away. Myself and one of my colleagues run a mastermind group, and that's just discussing business challenges, and people of all different industries contribute and have very different viewpoints. If you've got a HR and a finance person and a marketing person, it's really useful as a sounding board. I also signed up as a governor for a local college because I've got a real passion with financial education, specifically for young people, learning about mortgages and credit cards and how all that kind of works. And what I found is that the more I gave and the more I put myself out there, the more business I won and the more people knew of my business and my brand. And that felt like a really successful strategy for me to continue.
So many things to pick up on there, but it's the visibility aspect. It's giving, but a very visible place. So it's speaking on events, it's sharing in schools, and it's running a mastermind group where I believe people would come in person and spend time bouncing off each other.
Definitely. And then there was a lot of community going on online as well during COVID, wasn't there? It was a thing that got a lot of people through, was those online networking groups and the ability to still connect with other business owners. Because for me, the community element, it's not just about me winning clients, it's also me finding people who can help my clients, because there are lots of industries that my clients need, whether there's other financial services like wealth management, will writing and all that sort of thing, solicitors, but also, marketing, business coaches, all those types of services are really useful. We've all got the same business clients, so we can help each other.
You've got a significant business. How many people do you have working within your organization now?
It's 38 of this.
38. Okay, so tell me about the journey of building your team and working out, because there's a lot of our listeners are going to be in the place where they know they need to expand their team. So they might literally be a solopreneur thinking about their first outsourcing. They might have a significant team already, but they realize that there's some gaps they need to fill. So how did you go about that? How did that happen, that your team expanded to that point?
I think that's a really good question. It's been so significant for so many business owners, especially in the service industry, because we're such a product of our people. They are the people that are customer facing. You can't grow it all on your own. You need people around you that are as committed as you are to doing a good job and have similar values. So for me, hiring's always been really significant, and it's about looking for people that know more than me, not people that are just going to do what they're told, but actually challenge and say, are we doing things the best way? Bring experience from other firms. It feels like a big step, especially if you're a solopreneur, to sort of take someone on. But I always say to people, try to focus on the next 3 months rather than, if you've taken someone on who's a 50 grand salary, for example, that seems huge. And it's very difficult to get to the point where you've got 50 grand spare. So what you do is you focus on the next 3 months and building up a reserve enough to secure that person. But then it comes down to what you do with the time you save. So if those people are taking work off, obviously your focus should be winning new business or improving profitability or adding new products and services to be able to make back that money so that you're not taking a step back. but getting the right people on board is really key. And I think lots of people don't put enough effort into the recruitment process, the skills testing, the personality analysis, whatever tools work for you, to make sure that's the right fit, because it's really crucial.
Now, this sounds very intriguing. I'd love to know more about your recruitment process, if you're willing to share. So how do you skills test? What personality and analyses do you use?
Definitely. So there's no fixed, we don't sort of use a standard tool so much. It's more about, we also very much consider what personality traits are required in that role, as well as the skills that they need, that depending whether they're customer facing. And that can be difficult. In financial services, people tend to be quite shy, quite reserved, very detail orientated, not necessarily people that want to go out there. But if this is someone that we want to be visible and want to help build the community, as we were talking about earlier, then they need to have those traits as well. So it might take a bit longer to find the person. Skills tests, we do set technical tests, because I don't think there's any exam in the world. People might have done those exams a long time ago, they might not be up to date with their knowledge. So we want to set tests, question tests and practical tasks that they can complete to see how they work under pressure, but also make sure that they have the knowledge that we need.
Amazing. So we touched on earlier building your business by acquiring, it must have been a competitor in a way. How did you approach that? The man came to you with this opportunity. He was looking to retire. What were your initial thoughts?
So again, it's a result of the community that we were spoken about. So, know someone who knows somebody. So there was kind of a link between us, albeit a distant one. And it definitely wasn't part of my strategy. I would have been in a position of thinking that I couldn't afford to buy a business, that you would need a substantial amount of money in order to do that. But I'm always open to opportunities. That's something that's really important to me, to be open-minded about might be possible or what might be a good way to go with the business. So I thought it can't hurt to go along and have a conversation. And for me, the main topic of conversation was the service offering that they were providing, making sure we could continue to deliver the same level of service as what he was doing, and also the team, because really in an accountancy practice, all you're really buying is a list of names and addresses. So unless you can build relationships with those people and unless you can manage the team, there's not a lot there. So that's really, really key. And it was very important to me to speak to the team quite early on in the transaction, or as soon as the seller was comfortable, because they were the asset. They're the people that've got relationships with the clients. They will transfer over to us as part of the transaction. So they were going to form part of the community we'd already built, and we don't want any sort of culture clash or any problems there. So yeah, that was a key part for me.
Interesting. And am I right in thinking that wasn't your last time growing by acquisition? You've done a couple more acquisitions since, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've done 4 since in total. Very varying size. Some just was absorbed into the existing infrastructure, others remained in situ with their existing branding. And yeah, it's proven a really good way for us to grow and expand into new areas. The problem with starting from scratch in a brand new area is it's very costly, because you're starting from 0 clients and you've potentially got office costs, expanded on your insurance premiums, headcount, you need a presence in that area. Whereas if you acquire, you've got an existing business that you can just build upon and hopefully make some improvements. But we also learn from the acquisitions. There are some things that people we're taking over do better than us, and we can then incorporate that into our systems, which has been really nice addition as well.
Amazing. So what has been your biggest learning when acquiring businesses?
I think it's been around the significance of the people, definitely, because where we have had challenges, it's been because of the change management piece, naturally wanting to integrate that business into yours so that you can offer cover, you can offer more skill, and you can, run the business. You need them all the clients to be on your database and all that kind of thing. And if the team members find that change difficult to accept, then that can be quite problematic. So I've learned a lot about selling the benefits, helping them to understand how this is going to make their job better, and not just telling them how it's going to be better for you and for the business as a whole, because at the end of the day, they're spending a significant amount of their lives at work and they want to know how it's going to impact them.
Absolutely. Great advice. And actually, if you could give advice to anyone in the position that you were right at the start, so not necessarily somebody who's been approached, but somebody who's considering expanding their business by acquiring another business, what advice would you give them? What advice would you have given Jo however many years ago when she was facing that prospect?
Really good question. I think the key is keeping your objectives in mind. I was very much a person, always have been, that's like growth beyond all else. I just like to grow and progress and get bigger. And sometimes if you do that without considering what value add that's bringing to your business, or whether it's additional profitability, additional team members, or whatever that looks like, you can end up somewhere that you didn't necessarily want to be. If you're not very clear, working with a coach about your mindset and where you're going with it and what you'd like to achieve, you can go off track. So it's important to understand, how does acquisition fit in with my overall business strategy, and am I going to be happy with the business in the new format? Depending on the size of the business, it can double the size overnight, and sometimes we don't know what that looks like, and would we like to run a business of that size or with that much division? The real work starts once the paperwork's signed, because all of a sudden you've got these two independent entities and you have to figure out how to bring everything together, and it's very time consuming.
I can imagine. So what tips would you give someone who is facing that integration?
I think it's about considering every process within your business. So lots of businesses do process mapping. We have to do exactly the same with acquisition, only you're doing it across the two, and figure out what parts of the process you're going to keep. And that involves a lot of consultation. So definitely I'd be mindful not to make those decisions on your own, because sometimes you might not understand the benefit of having that additional step in the process to the person who's running the job. But we have sort of task meetings where anyone involved in, for example, admin, will go through all the tasks we're doing, make sure we've not got process for the sake of process, but also that we're adding extra bits in that improve the customer journey or mean we can charge more fees, or whatever that looks like. So yes, it's about considering every process and picking the best bits from both until you come to an agreement as to, this is the way we're going to do things going forward. Sometimes it can be more difficult for your existing business, especially if you're doing multiple acquisitions, because they're constantly having to deal with these changes, whereas for the acquired business, usually it happens just the once.
Very interesting. So I understand that you have recently started a new offering that is outside of Bell's Accountants. Can you tell our listeners also a bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So for me, I actually got to the point in Bell's where my main job was overseeing the business and dealing with the finances, all the HR side, the marketing side. And I really missed working one-to-one with clients. So that's where the consultancy business came. It gave me an opportunity to go back to working with clients who want to grow significantly and want more than what a traditional accountant would provide. So lots of accountants out there who do a brilliant job on the compliance work, year-end accounts, saving tax, all of that lovely stuff. But there's a lot more with the business knowledge that I've acquired over the years in terms of key performance indicators. What numbers should you be tracking if you're looking to grow really fast? It's not enough to look at last year's 9 months after the event. If you're on that high growth trajectory, it might be if your business is relatively stable, winding down, but if you're growing really fast, a lot can change. And I see the wheels fall off sometimes with people getting lending and assuming the cash flow is going to be X and actually it's Y. So it's all about consultancy, it's all about forecasting for high growth businesses. Businesses who would like to acquire can really support in that, looking at how to value a business, what should go in the heads of terms, how to manage the risk, how to do it without risking too much of your own money, all of those kind of things that maybe you wouldn't have conversations with a more conventional sort of traditional accountancy firm. It comes very much from my learnings as a business person, not what I learned in college as an accountant.
Amazing. That sounds incredibly valuable, and I will definitely be looking out for introductions for you. There's definitely a couple of people that might be interested in a chat. So Jo, thank you so much. It's been very insightful chatting to you today. For our listeners who want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Probably LinkedIn, I would say. Joanne Bell on LinkedIn. I do have a personal website as well, so joannebell.co.uk, and that contact form comes directly to me if anyone would like to have a chat about what we could do for them, or indeed what they might be able to do with my clients. As I say, always good to chat to people about all aspects of what they do too.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure.
You too, Ruth. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.